Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, and welcome to another episode of Game Room, the show on this channel where we just geek out about video games. And you know, I hate saying this, but when it comes to indie games, I tend to always be late to the party. By the time that I finally check out an indie game, it's after everyone else has already played it, beaten it, created fan art for it, come up with dozens of theories for it, and built an entire fanfic universe based around it. However, recently while I was perusing around Steam, I came across a brand new game that's still just in beta, and I fell in love with it, so I had to tell you guys about it. The game is Book of Demons, and as I said, this is still just in early access, but it is still totally worth playing, and it's one of the most fun gaming experiences I've had this year, and here's why. Book of Demons is the first in a series of games under the banner Return to Games made by Thing Trunk Studios. Now this studio has promised 7 games in this series, with each one following a different theme, but they'll all be tied together by a shared design and style. And that style? A pop-up book. When you start the game up, you are transported away to a mystical sanctum where you are presented with 7 pedestals, each of which will contain one of these games. As I said, at the moment there is still only one game available, but I really dig the idea of presenting each of these games like a different story you'd find in a mystical library. By the way, the room is called the Archive of Awesome, and the moment I heard that, I got giddy and went, oh, I know exactly what kind of game this is going to be. Yes, there is another theme that all these games are going to have other than just looking like a pop-up book, and that theme is fun. The moment you start playing this, it just feels like someone made this game solely to be enjoyed. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What kind of game is this, you might ask? Well, it's a point-and-click action RPG that has you choosing a class of hero and then traveling deeper down into a dungeon to banish waves of monsters until you face off against the giant red demon who it's Diablo. Yeah, I can't lie to you, this game is meant to be one part parody and one part tribute to the classic game franchise Diablo. I mean, for God's sakes, it even has Deckard Cain in it. That being said, this game still feels like its own thing, whereas Diablo is super heavy and is set in a world that looks like, well, what's the best way to describe it? Sad. It looks sad. So whereas Diablo is far heavier in tone, Book of Demons is designed to be way more uplifting. Sure, there are demons and evil spirits running rampant, and every now and again one of your friends will bring up the fact that everyone else is dead, but the game manages to combine both the darker tone with the poppy graphics, exciting gameplay, and moments of levity sprinkled all throughout. For example, watch how they introduced this huge boss that you have to fight called the Cook.
Boiling marrow. Brewing blood, take a peek and you'll go mad. Through the hellish kitchen's door, for the master still craves more. Underground where shines no sun, this cook's work is never done. Among screams he toils with haste, creature of most subtle taste. Cuts and chops both bone and gut, be it sinew, be it fat, not an ounce of flesh he'll shun. This cook's work is never done.
Pretty creepy, right? Now watch how gracefully he exits after you beat him.
No, I left the store bought.
After an intense battle where I had to use everything I had learned throughout the game, hearing that made me actually laugh out loud. But speaking of the gameplay, let's get into how this game works. You crawl through the dungeon and you can click on pretty much everything, pots, books, tombs, each of which hide money, items, explosions, monsters, exploding monsters, or poop. No, I'm not kidding, you can actually find poop in these jars and they each contain one single coin. Okay, I'll admit, that part isn't much of a selling point, so let's just move on. As I said, this game is designed to be a player-friendly, casual experience, and as you walk through the dungeon, when you complete everything there is to do down one path of the dungeon, your footsteps turn golden, so that way you know you've found everything down that path, and it doesn't drive you crazy running around in every direction trying to find what you might have missed, because believe me, finding things in this game is so fun, you would totally do that if they didn't come in and tell you, you're good, move on. And once you've completed a level, you can move on to the next one or return to the village, and one thing that I love about this game so much is that before you go into the dungeon, it will ask you how long do you want to play. It gives you the option to play very short, or medium-length matches, with longer matches able to be unlocked as you play. Basically, what this means is that with each option you choose, it will increase the number of levels that you can play through before it gives you the option to leave. and it will analyze how long it takes you to complete a level and tells you how long they expect you to take to finish that length. This is what I mean when I say that this game is great for casual fun. Unlike certain Taskmaster games that want you to play it non-stop, this game just says, hey man, I get it. You got a job, you got friends, you got errands to run, you can't just sit here all day. Let me ask you something, how long you got? 10 minutes? Great, here's how many levels you can play through in 10 minutes. So sit down, slay some monsters, and then when you're done, go on with your day. That being said, this game is so fun, you will gladly ignore their recommendations and just keep playing for hours on end. I've sat down for one quick game and ended up running through hours of levels. And a lot of that has to do with how great the combat is. You'll run into hordes of monsters, and at first they'll start out simple. All you have to do to fight them is click on them with your mouse, and you can hold down on the mouse to attack faster. But as you travel down the dungeon, then they start to introduce new types of monsters, each with new tricks to remember. At first, you'll run into poisonous monsters that can explode and infect you, and the only way to cure yourself is to click on your life bar until you're healed, followed by creatures with shields over their hearts so that you have to break the shield before you can actually do damage to them, followed by mages who you have to hold down on their spells to negate it, followed by monsters who are immune to your attacks after they take a hit, and so on and so on and so on. I have to say, considering that about 75% of the combat in this game is just you holding down the mouse, the developers actually came up with a ton of different ways to fight these monsters. But the most impressive part of all this is how they introduce us to the monsters. They never throw too much at you at once so that you can't remember it all, but they don't wait too long to introduce something new which keeps you from ever getting bored. And it's not like clicking the mouse is your only way to fight. As you make your way through the dungeon, you'll find cards, and you can assign these cards to numbers on your keyboard, and each of them have different effects. These effects have a wide range. They can be passive abilities that do things like increase your number of strikes, make you more evasive to certain kinds of attacks, can add elemental abilities to your attacks, and much, much more, but you can also find command actions, such as stun your opponents or charge at your opponents, and you can find consumable cards that will heal you or replenish your magic. Then when you go back to town, you can speak to the fortune teller to upgrade your cards to give them bigger abilities, or you can speak to one of the 3 other NPCs in order to get different rewards. There's the girl at the tavern who grew up with you and now is training under the fortune teller to brew potions. She can take items that you find in the dungeon and turn them into boosts to your stats. Then there's the monk who will heal your wounds before you go back into the dungeon, although I'll admit, there's so many ways to go ahead and heal yourself in the dungeon that I never really needed him. And lastly, there's Deckard Cain. The Sage. I meant to say the Sage. I'm just gonna call him Deckard Cain. He will unlock more slots for your cards and serve as your bestiary, giving you information on the monsters that you slay in the dungeon. It doesn't really affect the game at all, but considering that they actually went to the trouble of providing voice acting for everything in this game, it's still cool to listen to.
Here's a riddle. What has hairy legs, bulging eyes, and smells worse than the feet of a sorcerer's apprentice? No, it's not the fortune teller, my child, although I admit I find the dungeon arachnids just as vicious.
Also, it's worth knowing that he hates the fortune teller, and the fortune teller hates him. I haven't gotten to the end of the game yet, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say they used to date. Now, as I've been saying this whole time, this game is meant for casual fun, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a piece of cake. This game does provide you with plenty of opportunities to heal yourself, but you can still find yourself overrun with monsters in the blink of an eye, and you have to take each of them down in different ways. It can be pretty hectic, but never frustrating. Even if you die, you never feel like it was unfair, just challenging. And I think that's important because that feeling of overcoming huge obstacles like this is one of those things that keeps you coming back. And that's the best thing about this game, it keeps you coming back. That need to see what comes on the next level, to fill out the bestiary, to find all the cards, the sense of accomplishment that comes each time you level up, it all makes you feel great whenever you make progress. And speaking of making progress, if you're an achievement hunter like me, you will love this game. There are 150 achievements in this game, but none of them feel like they're just being given away. Each of them feel like you legitimately earn them throughout your game. You can also achieve rewards for your progress in the dungeons, including new avatars for your profile. And when so many other games like this get old or feel repetitive, constantly giving you something like achievements or simple prizes go a long way to make you feel like you're actually making progress and make you want to come back. In fact, that's the best thing that I can say about this game. No matter how familiar it might feel or similar to other games it might be, with all the new items to collect, rewards to unlock, and brand new types of monsters that require new ways of fighting them, all of it keeps this game from getting old. I have had a blast playing this game, and I can't wait to keep playing and see all the new games coming up later from Return to Games. Although I will say that I know this is a review, but it doesn't feel right to go ahead and give this game a score just yet, since it's still in early access and I don't know what else they plan on adding. For example, at the time of this recording, there's only one class that you can pick, the Warrior, but they have 2 other classes that are coming later, but I don't know how they're going to handle it. So I can't give this a score just yet, but based on what I've played, if I did have to give it a score, it would be high. Like, really high. Like Doug Benson levels of high. If you didn't get that joke, then that's probably a good thing. Good for you, kids. But thanks for watching my review today, folks. I've been reviewing movies and TV shows for a while, but I'm going to start reviewing games as well here on Game Room each week. So if you want to see that or anything else from the world of geekery, such as comics, cartoons, and movies, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, remember to share this video and give me a thumb up down below. That's the best way to help people find this channel. And if you want to see some actual gameplay of Book of Demons, then click right up here and head over to my Let's Play channel where I played through a few levels of it just to show off how much fun it is. Thanks for watching everyone, and come back later.